Hi, I'm Zach Mohring, and I'm in my fifth year as an investor with Altos Ventures. Altos is a venture capital fund in Silicon Valley celebrating our 30th year this year. We have two separate $500 million funds making early stage investments, typically at the Series A, one here in our Silicon Valley office and one in Seoul, Korea. I'm lucky to be here today with Thankachan and Ryan Schrack, the founders of Lighyear. Lighyear is transforming the way that enterprises manage their telecom. Altos led Lighyear's Series B investment about 18 months ago and doubled our commitment to the company a couple months ago. I'm very excited to be here with these two today to learn more about their story. Maybe I'll kick things off on our side by talking a little bit about why we were so excited to invest in you guys, not once but twice so far, and hopefully more to come. For us as a firm, it always starts with the founders. We make 10-year minimum commitments to the teams that we partner with from the very early stages. And so we are always looking for people that are incredibly smart, but more importantly, super ethical and want to build a business the right way for the very long term, because we are going to be partners together for the very long term. And it's been 2 years, which feels both like a long time, but also we've really barely started the journey together. And then on the business side, we only make 7 or 8 investments as a firm every year. And we're looking for companies that can go for a very long time and compound the advantages that they have created over the very long term, such that when you look up 10, 20 years later, they've built something that's totally impregnable that no one else could have done. And so while others might look at the telecom space and think, gosh, boring, unsexy, slow to enact change, antiquated, tricky, we look at something that's, oh my gosh, there's so much opportunity here for someone who's very committed to it to build something really exceptional if they are patient and strategic and have a capital partner that will let them build in that way for the very long term. So as we got into this, it became very clear to us just how hard what you guys had done was to that point. And as a result, how much right you guys had created to make just an exceptional product and business that could add so much value to your customers that no one else is ever going to be able to touch if you keep at it. And so we're very, very happy to have been on the journey for a couple of years, have deepened our commitment to you guys just a month or two ago. And we're very excited for what you guys are going to be able to do from here. To people who may be unfamiliar, what is Lighyear?
Lighyear is a software product that we call the Telecom operating system. And what does that mean? That means that you have one place where all of the pains around enterprise telecom are handled. And the long run company vision is to fix business telecom, all problems solved by one software or agentic product. And so today we have sort of 3 core subcomponents of that product. First is procurement. We allow you to automate and optimize telecom procurement via software, meaning you can create RFPs for your telecom services, you manage your installs, and everything sort of soup to nuts is handled by one system. Then we have our network inventory manager. It's effectively a digital system of record that keeps all of your telecom infrastructure, over 30 unique data points, in one place, and also captures any service changes that may occur. Can also handle automatic renewal reshopping, ticketing, and things of that nature, and can keep everything up to date via API across all of your other enterprise systems. And then finally, expense management, which automates everything around telecom invoicing and payments. And that today doesn't actually capture every problem set of telecom. It's really the starting point of the platform on which several other products will be launched over the coming years.
And anything you want to say about customers you guys have, the team you guys have built? What does the company look like today?
We are about 50 people. We've been around since 2019, and we have over 400 enterprise customers, a number of whom are in the Fortune 500 and are recognizable logos, including Alo Yoga, Five Guys, Palo Alto Networks, Quantix, Healthcare Realty Trust, and even a number in the Fortune 50 who, just for confidentiality reasons, I can't name.
Awesome. Ryan, totally different for you, but as someone who grew up as an operator in the energy sector, how did your experience as an engineer and product leader in that industry contribute to you being the CTO of a fast-growing technology startup?
It's really 2 major roles that I had there that really contributed to setting me up for success here. First is really just getting an optimization engineer role where I got to build a lot of the processes and models that we ran across plants all over the globe, really. And in doing that, I learned a lot about how you can tackle problems and really taking those new innovations and technologies and trying to extract new value and new problem solving. And so that was really a space where I was able to flex a lot of those muscles, try and find out how you can improve processes, workflows, how to bring technology in to advance where the current capabilities were at and move those things forward. I also got the chance to really lead some massive projects, so got to work with international folks in a very massive, high budget, high scale, very high stakes environment. Learn a lot from that and is able to really come back into starting and building a business and applying those concepts. And so when I look at like what we're doing here at Lighyear, it's exactly that. It's operating in an old industry where we're trying to take advantage of the technology advances that have come about, apply that to really elevate the industry, and then improve the workflows and the processes that exist there. From my perspective, a really exciting place to be and is very applicable from the skill sets that I've been able to gather across my career.
Lighyear is on a mission of fixing B2B telecom. What was the original problem that you set out to solve, and why were you interested in the telecom sector?
I actually initially set out to solve a completely different problem within telecom. I was actually a public markets investor at a large hedge fund. And over there, I led their investing in telecom. I also did some work in software and internet companies, and I absolutely fell in love with telecom. It is a multi-trillion-dollar TAM, and it's extremely mission critical and consequential, yet it left so much to be desired in terms of experiences for business or residential customers of telecom. And it also just felt like a very unloved space. There was absolutely a dearth of smart people interested in building businesses within telecom. So I actually initially quit my hedge fund job to just explore a variety of different ideas in telecom, none of which were actually enterprise related. And the initial business I set out to build was actually a telecom infrastructure business, building residential telecom infrastructure. But in process of building that business, I met a business telecom consultant, someone who was tasked with helping businesses buy and manage their telecom. And I was just absolutely appalled with the way that they did things and just the lack of optimization that businesses face, and saw a huge opportunity to transform things with software. So I actually dropped everything that I was working on and pivoted to working on software for enterprise telecom. I thought it was a much more exciting opportunity. And I ended up meeting Ryan at that juncture, and the rest is history.
The two of you have had very different career journeys leading up to founding Lighyear, so I thought it'd be fun for us to take a couple minutes just to dig a little deeper into how you two ended up here. And Dennis, starting with you, you came up through public markets investing where you covered telecom. What did you learn through those experiences that shaped how you approach leading Lighyear today?
Yeah, so I, as a public markets investor, was absolutely obsessed with the notion of a quiet compounder, a company that could basically maintain a market position so strong, driven by a moat, that it could produce outsized returns for a very long period of time, multiple decades sometimes, and end up much larger than you could have ever foreseen it to be. And I thought that I could take my experience as an investor, picking and identifying those opportunities, and back solve to what it took to build that from the very start. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. At the very start of a business, nothing I learned as an investor translated at all. There's no blog post you can read, no manual that tells you how to convince early employees to join you, to convince investors to get behind you, to convince customers, especially enterprise customers, to get behind a half-built or quarter-built product. That part is just very, very difficult, I will say. However, today, now with some scale and some experience and some reps in market and actually some capital to work with, some of what I learned observing just the history of business and what succeeds in markets is actually really, really useful. I think you can probably attest to this. We're building an extremely high quality, built to endure compounder business from first principles. And there's a lot of what we're doing that's really antithetical to the notion of a traditional Silicon Valley business, which I think a lot of sometimes what venture encourages is not good for something to endure. So now I actually get to put some of that experience to work for the first time.
Yeah. It's so fun hearing you say that again. It takes me back to when we first met. And it's so obvious why it was such a good fit for a firm like Altos, looking for a really long-term business built by someone who was thinking that way from the jump. So you two were deep in your respective sectors, totally different parts of the world and economy. In 2019, you guys decide to come together to start Lighyear. How did you guys meet, and how did you guys decide that this was the right time to start a business together?
So like I mentioned earlier, was initially building a telecom infrastructure business, totally different business. And I was working then with a co-founding CTO who was actually previously a technical leader at Google Fiber. In the process of building that, discovered the business telecom opportunity and admittedly felt that that was just much more exciting and something to run at and something where we would build software rather than infrastructure. And the initial CTO, Drew, didn't want to build a software business and felt like his skill set wasn't ideal for it. So he actually introduced me to Ryan, who was one of his best friends. And I believe you guys were freshman year roommates.
Yeah, college roommates.
So he introduced me to Ryan. Ryan and I clicked, and Ryan was also exploring his own ideas within software entrepreneurship at the time with potentially other businesses, I think in healthcare early on.
Yeah.
And then I sold him on the telecom opportunity. And after that, we initially got to work just validating the opportunity. We were able to very quickly get basically like a telecom procurement intake tool built that we were able to leverage to just showcase the opportunity that could be created with software for enterprise telecom, and how something as simple as quoting an individual telecom circuit could be made significantly better. And also that there was an exciting business model to be had alongside the software product that we built. And from there, we decided to drop everything, run at that, and attempt to get some customers and maybe raise venture capital.
And Ryan, what was Lighyear's first product? And how did you refine and iterate on that to get it ready for enterprise?
Yeah, so as Dennis talked about here, the procurement intake tool was really the first product that we built out and put to market. And I would say, as with any good startup, the goal there was get it out into the market and kind of see how it's perceived. We actually ran in parallel, Dennis, along with one of our first hires of sales in Rob, were running process on a bunch of deals on the side where we were doing things off platform. We were trying to understand what customers were looking for, getting some of them introduced to the platform and understanding what that experience could look like and how to iterate and improve from there. And that's really something that we've built into our ethos since there, is come in with the vision, introduce it, get customers using it, get their feedback, iterate, and improve as we go along the way. If you look at that procurement tool now, it has changed significantly since then and has many other outlets from there. There's many other ways to utilize it. And that's just kind of core to everything we've done at Lighyear, where it's move fast, get the product out there, get people using it, and then continue to build and add value on top of that. And so that's something that I would say we've been running at in everything we do at Lighyear, and is an area where it really shows how much value can be added by just getting something out the door where there's not really any solutions in this market for most of the problems that these guys have, but that taking that to the next level will really elevate what we're able to accomplish in the industry.
Dennis, what was the first really hard challenge that you two encountered on the path here, and how did you guys get through it?
Fortunately or unfortunately, we had a very hard challenge really early into the journey. So we started Lighyear at the end of 2019. And the initial idea to take to market was effectively an online automation tool for small businesses to get office connectivity. So you can imagine in March 2020, when COVID hit and people were saying that offices will effectively never be utilized ever again in human history, that became a very unattractive prospect. So, prior to that, we were beginning to meet some people in commercial real estate that could have been go-to-market partners. We had some early customers, and we had some early investor momentum, and all of it fell off a cliff. Like everything died all at once, and no one would return their calls, which was pretty difficult. And we were faced with the decision to continue on, or change significantly, or just stop altogether. And at that point in time, the realization was made that enterprises, despite not being in office, were still very much in the market for telecom. They needed to transform a lot of their operations from an infrastructure perspective to be ready for what COVID brought them. And that meant a lot of cloud transitions, contact center changes, bandwidth upgrades. And these were very complex workflows that warranted a much heftier, more exciting product, one that we eventually wanted to build toward, but didn't really have in the initial vision for the product. So we made the difficult decision to move full on into enterprise and really build the enterprise lifecycle management platform for telecom, rather than have this sort of SMB piece in the middle. And it turns out that was a very smart, lucrative decision. It was very difficult because we basically burned like 6-9 months building the wrong thing, or at least it felt that way, but ultimately ended up in the right spot.
Glad you guys stuck it out. So Lighyear has come a really long way in the last 7 years, from that one product that you guys have been talking about to now serving over 400 customers across a bunch of different product lines and truly in the enterprise. So as you guys reflect on the journey, what parts are you each most proud of?
I would say succeeding where others have failed. We are not the first people to have the idea to build software to automate enterprise telecom. It's a really big and impactful space. And there's actually a bit of a graveyard in venture capital over the past 2 decades of companies that have attempted to build some form of a software product for telecom, all typically taking shortcuts in approach that have led to a less than ideal product that just never got any enterprise momentum. And, we're the only company that has gotten to the scale that we have in market, which is exciting and satisfying. Feels like we're onto something, at least something correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would say mine probably plays off that a little too. You, especially as a founder, a builder, I think the thing that sticks out to me most is getting those first people to pay you a lot of money in a contract for something that you built, like software and platform and services you're providing. And so as an entrepreneur, I think that is like the core thing that you're really driving to and seeing like, hey, maybe we have something here, like let's keep running at this. So I would say that's probably one of my top ones. The other one is really the team that we've been able to build. I think when you look at the journey that we've been on, it's really about people. It starts with us coming together, and then it evolves into the people that we bring into that journey. And it's really the company, to get to the scale and size that we want to get to, you have to bring in good people. You have to keep creating the business through layers. And it is those people who are going to be the ones that take us to where we need to get to. And so for me, I have a lot of pride in the people that we've been able to bring in who are really smart, really hardworking, help drive me and make it fun for me to come in and continue to do my best work here too.
Even from my seat, it's pretty cool how many folks that are today quite senior at the company joined you guys in those first days, even before COVID, that are still here and having a huge impact here. And that's probably true on the customer side also, where some of your very best customers have been with you guys for 5-6 years at this point.
Yeah, it's incredible.
We've lost almost 0 customers in our existence, and we've lost not far from 0 employees.
Ryan, you guys launched a number of new products in 2025, and you have a very ambitious roadmap ahead for 2026. A lot to be proud of there, but if you had to pick just one, is there one that you would spotlight for us to talk about today?
2025 was a banner year for us. We've got a lot planned, excited about the future, but I think the easy, obvious choice there is our AI-powered telecom expense management solution that we're introducing into the market and starting to get really amazing feedback on. Typically in the industry, expense management solutions right now are very antiquated. They haven't been challenged by any up-and-coming companies. They operate in manners that aren't conducive to high integrations and where companies are trying to get to and utilizing them. It's a very complex problem, and we've been able to attack it with an AI-first mentality where we are really trying to automate many of the hard parts of it to one, have a better base solution, but then also provide that expense management solution in tandem with our system of record to really achieve what none of the expense management solutions are able to do out there. And so this is a product we just recently launched. We're getting incredible feedback, a lot of exciting old customers and new customers coming in for this tool. And I'm really excited to see how we can continue to push the market here and how it responds. It should be a great thing for customers in the industry alike. And that's really what we're trying to do here, is push the telecom industry to be better. And we want to be the leaders there. But a lot of what we're doing is taking advantage of what we see as possible in the market.
Even from my seat over the last couple of years, it's been really impressive to watch what you guys have been able to launch into this industry that people like me a couple of years ago would have said was probably pretty antiquated and pretty slow to adopt some of this stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look a step forward there too and look at 2026, I think the real big banner product from our end is going to be the pushes that we're making in AI overall. A lot of these are going to be seen by the customers in major products that will be released fairly soon, as well as a lot of operational ends where we're improving what's happening under the hood in ways that wasn't possible before. Having always on assistance, being able to work through these problems that are still very manual and can't all be automated, but can receive a lot of value from the technologies and the advancements that are happening there. So we're making some major pushes in that space, as well as really a massive product release that I'm really excited to talk about, but we're kind of keeping it under the wraps for a little bit here. So we'll have to save that for another one. But overall, like, really looking forward to what we have laid out on our roadmap. We're nowhere close to being done with the vision that we have for where to take this company and how to push the industry. And we're excited to keep furthering that as we come through.
Dennis, over the journey of the company, Lighyear has been on quite a transformation of integrating AI into all parts of the company. Can you just comment on what that's been like? And as CEO, how you've led this and why this is such a high priority for you guys as a business?
Enterprise telecom is a very difficult problem set to solve because you're dealing with mission critical infrastructure for the enterprise. So that means the liability is very high. But also you have thousands of vendors around the globe, and you have thousands of SKUs. Every single product, like a dedicated circuit, may be called and treated a little differently at AT&T than it may be at Verizon, than it may be at vendor number 500 or vendor number 1000. And that means every workflow around these products and vendors is a little different. So you're dealing with almost like millions of disparate workflows to make this mishmash of what needs to happen for an enterprise operation work. And what does that mean for us? That means our job in building software is quite difficult. We have to standardize a lot of this. And two, from a support operation, there are many, many things that we basically resigned in starting the business could never be automated. And we just basically denoted, okay, this is going to be a human capital piece of the business that we underwrite permanently needs to be built. With LLMs, actually, all of that changes. You now have a tool in the toolkit that with natural language and context can understand problems at a level of depth that the traditional software toolkit could not. And that allows you to automate many, many things that require long-range context. And that completely changes the game for what we can automate and what we can put out to the customer. And so for us, if we're going to be intellectually honest with ourselves about putting out the best possible product and the ultimate solution that's technically possible, we have to completely rethink what we're building from top to bottom and how we operate. And I believe if we don't, we will die. Like on some time horizon, it's guaranteed. And so rather than, die externally, I say, let's kill ourselves, let's disrupt ourselves and drive this change internally. So, start over the past several years, we've had several difficult discussions that have significantly changed the way we think about our roadmap that have ultimately, I think, made us much, much stronger. And admittedly, in the context of disrupting ourselves, I just think we're at the very early innings in what this means for the business. But ultimately, it'll result in a much stronger overall offering.
Anything you'd add to that as CTO?
The core value add here is how can you take advantage of this technology that wasn't available and apply it in an area where you have kind of dated problems, right? And it's a space that I think we are just really excited to start to leverage those new tools and come up with solutions that are better than we even imagined. Like our vision has evolved along the way, and it's cool to see, especially as an operator, how things are changing alongside you that you can continue to apply and take advantage of.
Dennis, values are such an important part of what you guys are doing at Lighyear, and a great way for folks to learn about what any company is about and how they do things. So it'd be great to hear you talk a little bit more about what Lightyear's core values are and how they've contributed to the success you guys have seen.
Yeah, for us, values are everything. We spend a lot of time digging deep and thinking about what makes us tick, what attracts us to building, and what characteristics allow us and people at Lighyear to succeed, and how that's different from perhaps the rest of the market. And in doing so, we consistently revisit a set of values that dictates everything about how we think, who we recruit, and how we act. And I think those underlying values are the core to why we've had such good retention and satisfaction, because we are looking for people that almost are a cut different than the rest of the market. And we have a long list of values. I'll save the entire spiel, but one value that I think is most telling of who we are and important to highlight is the notion of the beginner's mind. So the beginner's mind is a Buddhist concept that separates the perception of your own capability from your actual capabilities. Basically, placing your mental perception of your own capability in the permanent beginner or novice mindset. Your ability to confront who you are, your own mistakes, your flaws, and do so without any ego is always the greatest as a beginner. You are always able to learn the most as a beginner. To build a company that compounds for 2 decades, you need to have people individually inside of it that can compound for 2 decades. So we're really keen on maintaining the notion that we are permanent beginners at every step and hire people who can embrace that. And I think that's most important for leaders and managers to maintain the notion of a beginner mindset at all times.
It's awesome. And as a remote company, it's so important to instill values like that across the team from the start. And as you think about that, how have you thought about the trade-offs of being remote? And how are you able to keep those values strong across the team while also balancing, letting people live and work from wherever they are?
So we were formed right in the heart of COVID. That's when we first started hiring. And we made an extremely deliberate decision to build an entire culture around being remote. I think a lot of the negative things you hear about operating remote, and there are trade-offs, but there are also benefits, are primarily around businesses that either went from in-person to remote or try to make a hybrid type of thing work, where I think that is difficult, admittedly. But I think building from square one remote, you can build a phenomenal culture if you're very thoughtful about it. So for one, it's about who you recruit. We're very keen on utilizing our values and our assessment of people to identify people who are self-starters and can operate well without someone breathing over their shoulder. And then we build a culture around not breathing over people's shoulders while also pushing them as much as we can. So it's a culture that I would call extremely high trust and extremely high accountability. So what does that mean? On the one end, we don't care about FaceTime because FaceTime doesn't exist. It's not a concept that we have. We don't care about hours worked. We don't care about whether or not your Slack bubble is green or it's empty at a given time. But everything is transparent. All of our metrics, performance details, people's calendars, how many calls someone makes, what someone pushes to code, everything is visible and transparent to every single person. And there's no ability to hide. And we want people who want that. From a culture perspective, we have people that work the hours of like a 996 culture. Like people work very, very hard at Lighyear, but we're not about the performative aspects of what encapsulates 996, which I think is ultimately a little bit of a toxic culture built for 23-year-olds in a particular type of demographic in particular. The other thing that's important to highlight for remote is that when you are remote, you can buy into the notion that not all elite talent is in San Francisco or New York City. there's a whole world out there of extremely talented people that we can recruit that other companies cannot get to because they have to be in office. The other thing is we can accommodate top performers who work very, very hard, but also maybe have a family, maybe have to live in a part of the United States that may be inopportune for recruiting for some lifestyle reason. They need to care for someone in their family or whatever it may be. We can recruit those people, and those people are really grateful to be at Lighyear because of the way we run the culture.
It's awesome. And as you're at this really interesting moment in the company's journey where you've started to hire much more actively in the past couple of years, and especially as we look into this year and next, what are some things that both of you have to continue to work on to make sure that the culture that you've built scales with the number of people that you bring in?
I mean, from my side, I would say it starts with the leadership, right? Like the energy that you bring to the company is always going to decrease as you distill through the rest of the organization, right? And so from a culture perspective, a values perspective, we need to come in and showcase those as an example. And so part of it is leading by example there. The other part, as Dennis mentioned, is taking that into account heavily in hiring, looking for people who have those cultures, who have those values. And that's something that I would say has shown through in the type of people that we've brought on, and the ones that have done exceedingly well are very strong carriers of that. And that continues to spread and expand through the company. And so when you're very purposeful about doing that and you build with intent around that, I think it propagates through the company and spreads like wildfire.
Yeah, it'd be great to hear you say even more about maybe a couple of the top hires that you've made in the last couple of years, and maybe if there are a couple things that those folks have had in common that you're really glad that they're bringing across the organization.
I would say it starts with raw intellect, right? I mean, we want to bring in smart people. Smart people want to work with smart people, right? And so that's obviously the baseline there. I think the interesting thing about this space, if you look at it, is we're bringing in a lot of people who don't have telecom background experience. I mean, myself personally, I did not have a lot of telecom knowledge until Dennis and Drew had really introduced me to the space there. And so I think the advantage you get out of that is you bring people in who can come in with cold eyes perspectives on these things, like come and solve problems from a first principles perspective. What exists out there? How can we leverage it? How can we use it to solve our problems? And so I think that's just kind of a subset of what we see in some of the people we bring in who don't have those experiences, who end up adding a lot of value and are just very much trying to solve problems. Like from a first principles perspective, they're creative, they're hard driven. They will run at problems until they find a way around them, right? And so I think when you just look at the people who have succeeded here, it's people who are very driven to solve problems, achieve hard things, and accomplish a lot in their day-to-day lives. And so we've been able to build a team very well with those types of people. And the hard part here will be continuing to add more and more people there.
Dennis, as you think about finding these first principles problem solvers, telecom might not always be an industry that these people have on their radar, or might not be what people first think of when they think about where to go apply their trade. So how do you tell the story and get people excited to come work for you and work in this industry?
I think of telecom almost as a canvas for just a very long and exciting journey of building an awesome product and an awesome business, because I think that's really all you can seek in the context of trying to find a phenomenal place to work and to get better and to be around smart people. Telecom is one of the largest TAMs out there. It's a multi-trillion-dollar TAM where everyone is a customer and a lot of the spend is mission critical. Telecom is a technical space, and it has really, really difficult problems around it that are very technical, and the types of problems where solutions are hard, and if you solve them, the reward for the solution is really valuable and very enduring. And telecom just ties into everything that you do, with the opportunity to build a business that just has phenomenal unit economics. And I think if you take that lens, telecom is more interesting, or at least as interesting as some of the spaces that I would maybe consider almost a little boring, but are actually interesting from a business building context, like data center infrastructure, data warehousing, anything in sort of the infrastructure data space, fintech, payments or anything financial. These are all spaces that are in some senses boring, but also really exciting platforms to build something awesome. So I think of telecom as that canvas to build something awesome and enduring. And of course, I sort of fall in love with it as well.
Is this how he got you on board back in the day?
That was it. That was the sell right there.
So Dennis and Ryan, you guys recently raised fresh capital from ourselves and others to invest in the path ahead. What are you guys excited to use that additional capital over the next year and change?
We are on a very, very aggressive investment trajectory. In particular, we are able to, with the new capital, pull forward some long-term investments. So the area where the most growth is going to occur is on the product and engineering front, where we're aiming to run much, much harder at the roadmap and grow the team more aggressively than we thought we would even a year ago. So we're very excited to do that because there's tons to work on.
Awesome. Ryan, anything you in particular you're excited to do?
That's my neck of the woods in here. That's exactly what I'm stoked about, is building out our team and really having more chambers to run more product expansion in parallel, I think is going to be the big thing there. Whereas we really operated as a pretty lean team up until this point. Now we're really pressing the gas and want to be able to build out across the product vision and the different pillars of the product that will build up into that. And we're really looking forward to pushing the gas on that, using a bit more of our capital to accelerate that and kind of continue to stay ahead of the market here.
Yeah, I know we're going to continue to have a very lean team, but it is very exciting to see you guys talking about the telecom expense management platform and really giving that the resources to run here. And of course, this mystery product that you keep alluding to.
We'll find out.
Yeah. How will Lighyear continue to use technology to add new value to its customers? And as you look out over the horizon, what are a couple of things that you're really excited to continue to bring to the space?
I would say the obvious thing here is AI. I mean, everyone's talking about it. It is absolutely applicable to what we're doing here. And it's what the original thesis for starting Lighyear.ai was around, is how can we use data and technology to improve outcomes and how people operate in this space. And so if you look at it and what AI looks like right now, how it adds value, the core pieces that you need to have built out are really the infrastructure and systems to capture that information. And then also from our end in telecom, the relationships that you have to build with providers, with our partners to be able to supply the product that we have, encompassing everything from procurement to inventory management to billing and all that. And so if you look at all of those areas in the system of record applicable to that, and you think of how you can apply AI to that, it's really being able to take advantage of the data and the context you have available and the advancing models and architectures that are happening in the AI space to combine them to outcomes that customers wouldn't be able to have access to anywhere else. And that's what we're really trying to do here at Lighyear AI. That's our moat. It's essentially what allows us to create the telecom operating system and this ecosystem that is able to address all the problems that really almost everyone has in this space in one place and in ways that no one else can attack because of the integrations across our respective products. And so that has always been core to what we're doing and what we're building out towards. And you add that AI layer on top of it, it's really insane to imagine the value that we can extract from that and what can happen there. And so we're starting to experiment and see some really awesome things internally, and excited to kind of get that into the forefront and let customers experience the magic.
Dennis, zooming way out for a minute, as you think about what the next 5 years for Lighyear could look like, what are a couple of things that come to mind as you think about your goals and anything that you really want to most accomplish?
In 5 years, we can be the category leading solution for enterprise telecom procurement. And that feels a little niche when you frame it that way, is the funny thing. However, when you look at actually the scope of the size of basically solutions in market today for telecom procurement, particularly in the agent and consultant market, that requires you to hit a large number from a volume perspective. and would also signify that you're a really, really enduring business when you look at sort of like who's in the lead today. So in 5 years, we can be there.
So we've now reached the Lighyear round, where I'm going to ask you each some speed round questions for the audience to get to know each of you a little bit better. And the rule will be 1 sentence or less for each of these answers. We'll just jump right into it here. What is your favorite quality about your co-founder?
I think Ryan is a deeply secure person, which is underratedly extremely powerful because it means that Ryan is always focused on doing the right thing rather than bringing up his own ego. It makes him just really easy to be honest with and, just a very strong leader.
I think you went over the one line, but I'll take it. That was a great question to do that on. I'd say on my side, I mean, outside of like Dennis is one of the smartest people I know, and it's awesome. But I'd say a cooler part of that is the how Dennis does things matters. How we build the business, how we treat our customers, how we treat people in the company. And that stuff has always been what's really made me feel very strongly about working with Dennis and operating with him. And it's awesome.
Awesome. That was beautiful. Shorter answers to these should be easier.
Yeah.
What's the big productivity hack at work?
I'll start. I actually use a walking pad more recently for the times where I'm not able to actually get out and walk. It's great for kind of getting the mind rolling, and I actually dictate a lot of things to AI nowadays with it. So it's a fun one.
I just relentlessly time block and stick to the time blocks, and it actually works really well. No rocket science, but it works.
Fair enough. What time of day do you do your best work?
Morning, like 7:30.
Mine is probably the opposite because of Dennis's being in the morning. I would say afternoon, evening, definitely. And maybe that's a West Coast thing.
And how do you keep your energy up throughout the day?
Just a big focus on like health and wellness makes a big difference. I try to be a championship sleeper when I can, exercise and try to eat well, and it just allows me to work harder.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo that. Exercise and sleep as the things I think a lot of people have a hard time carving out, but are super impactful.
All right. And what's one hobby or personal interest that you pursue in your non-Lighyear time?
For me, I do all things crazy in the mountain, whether it's trail running, rock climbing, mountain biking, skiing. I live in Utah for a reason and take advantage of that.
I today am like an amateur/bedroom DJ, call it. And I would say music is my second passion.
What kind of DJ?
I mean, like genres would be mostly hip hop and pop music.
All right. What's the best thing you've read, watched, or listened to in the past year?
I'll take the fiction route on that one, actually. So Red Rising series, it's basically like Space Game of Thrones. If you haven't read it, definitely recommend. I'm halfway through and very deep into it.
I recently read this book called The Heart of Buddha's Teaching. It's like by a famous Buddhist monk, and it's where a lot of my favorite sort of like philosophical concepts come from. It's one of the best things I've ever read.
Should have known you guys were going to pick books.
I guess Washed was in there, wasn't it?
It was an option. I knew you weren't going to take it. Where are you going on your next vacation or getaway?
I'm going to Ireland for a wedding.
And we're doing Iceland. So I guess going out in the same areas. Pretty excited.